Hey, we're back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And it's What If Geeks, and we are here with Chapter 5 of Wandavision. And since I didn't make any show notes, I don't remember what the episode was called.
What the episode was called? Something about special guest star.
A very special episode, which was funny because when we first discussed WandaVision, I mentioned if they do some type of very special episode, I'm gonna laugh, and they did it. They totally did it. So, which is again harkens back to the special episodes of the '80s sitcoms that we used to watch, where different strokes. Dudley got touched in his no-no zone, and
by the bike repairman guy.
By the bike repair guy,
yeah. It was either like the very special episode was like some kid drinks a beer, Dudley gets touched, they try drugs, something like that.
Yeah, Alex Keaton's friend died or some shit. That one was pretty well made, but that was
the car accident. Yeah, or didn't on Family Ties Tom Hanks played the uncle that was a drunk and that would drank the vanilla extract or something?
Yeah. Which
he got drunk and ended up hitting Alex or something like that.
Yeah. Tom Hanks, America's beat
right.
Alex Keaton. Write that down, people. So, all right. So before we get into all of that, let's have a brief word from our sponsor, Gorilla Glue. Not for use on your hair.
Right.
I am having too much fun with that dumb bit.
See, now here's the thing that sucks about that though. Like, glue companies are all going to have to print on the label now. Please not using your hair.
Yeah, it says on there, not for use on skin, and that was what she said she's going to sue them for, because it says not for use on skin, don't get it in your eyes or your clothes. It doesn't say hair. You know what? So did you guys watch the first video she made?
No.
Oh my God. Oh, it was great. I got to send it to you guys. This idiot. All right, so apparently the spray that she uses in her hair, it says something like "you go glue" or some shit like that, whatever. So that ran out, or she didn't have any of that left. So she grabbed this can of Gorilla Glue spray adhesive, and when she comes out on the damn video, she's like, "Let me tell you something. Don't do like she's talking like she's trying to help you avoid doing something to yourself, like she's doing you a favor. No, you're a fucking idiot. You sprayed Gorilla Glue in your head." And then she had subsequent videos of her trying to get it out with shampoo and this and that, whatever, and the shampoo literally just slicked right over her. Oh, so yeah, I don't know. Idiocracy is coming in quick. People are stupid.
Yep. It's the reason that McDonald's cups now say, "Caution, coffee's hot." Shit, it's coffee.
Yeah, somebody brought that up at work today, and I was like, it's a good, that's been the ongoing joke. But if you guys remember, that was actually a serious thing. Everyone always joked about it being, oh, we got to put hot coffee on there. They actually, that specific McDonald's got sued big time because they cranked that coffee up to boiling.
It wasn't that specific McDonald's. Oh. It was all McDonald's. Yeah. So, there's I don't know if this is worth talking about, so unrelated to the show, but, there was I don't know if McDonald's did it or it was just a thing that happened, but there was almost a smear campaign against that lady that got burned, right?
Yeah.
And, there's a couple things that are always maybe more than a couple, but are always omitted from this. One is that they were keeping their coffee at 190 degrees, which is 40 degrees above what anybody else keeps coffee at, because it will give you third-degree burns in 5 seconds, right? Yeah. You can't drink that either. You know, McDonald's said, oh, well, it tastes better, or whatever the excuse was. I also read somewhere that it would keep the coffee good longer, so they didn't have to dump as much.
And that was probably it. Like they wanted it to not go bad.
Yeah.
Right.
But so prior to that lady burning herself and suing them, they had like almost 700 incidents of people reporting burns. Some of them sued McDonald's. In all cases, they settled out of court with a little bit of money. And this lady might have gotten, I think her initial award was like 2.7 million from the jury, right? That's not what she actually asked for, but that was the initial award she got. And a judge later reduced that to like 640,000 or something. And then McDonald's went back later and said, well, you know, we'll agree to never appeal if you take an out of court settlement. That's what really happened. So she only ended up getting, you know, who knows, something less than 600 grand. But the thing about all that was that initially all she had asked McDonald's for was $2,000 because that was what her out of pocket medical expenses were for the burns on her legs. So it was about $20,000 in medical bills. She only had to pay $2,000. That's what she asked them for. They said, no, we'll give you $800. And she was like, basically like, I'll sue you if you don't pay the, they're like, yeah, whatever, $800, that's it. You know, so then she sued him. And when she sued him, you know, she got lawyers at that point, you know, with greedy eyes, I'm sure. But, you know, they sued her for time out of work, for pain and suffering. And it became this whole thing of, you know, you need to pay us at least $200,000. And then I forget what they call them, compensatory damages or something, based on, you know, they said triple that. But then the jury said, oh, yeah, how about way more than triple? We'll do 2.7 million. So. But anyway, so the judge reduced it to roughly triple, you know, what she sued for. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that whole thing got really blown out of proportion, you know, and people say, oh, she was driving through the drive-thru. She wasn't driving. It was her, I think, son who was driving. And they had actually parked when she spilled it on herself. Now, granted, she spilled on herself. Don't get me wrong. That part's her fault, right? But it didn't necessarily have to be hot enough to burn your fucking hoo-hoo and inside of your legs, right? And I think that was the whole point. And McDonald's didn't actually, that's the other great part. People think the coffee cup thing, so those warnings ended up on the coffee cup not too long after, but McDonald's didn't change the temperature of their coffee for like another 10 years. Like they left it at 180 degrees or whatever the hell it was. So, I don't know, it's just a lot of funny things because they used that to make it seem like it was a frivolous lawsuit. And then that sort of like became the, I don't know what it is, the example of like how frivolous things can be. But it really wasn't that crazy. That was one where you're like, okay, all she really wanted was, you know, the coffee was way too fucking hot. McDonald's knew it. She wanted her out-of-pocket medical expenses paid. And they just wouldn't.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So
far too long spin on that, but
so
I mean, because there is lots of frivolous lawsuits, but that's the one everybody comes up with every time. Like, oh yeah, McDonald's lady, it's the reason we got those fucking cups, and that's partly true, but there's really a lot more to that story. That's probably one of the least frivolous of the lawsuits that have happened big like that.
But it is the reason that warnings are now on everything. Like
Sure. Yeah.
Well, there are warning labels that people do dumb shit. So.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, a lot of times those things come out of settlement agreements, you know,
right?
Like, hey, you must do this and that. Like, you know, the company's not admitting fault, but are going to do this, you know.
Yeah. So, there you go. So keep your coffee out of your crotch and keep your Gorilla Glue out of your hair. Obviously, we're not really sponsored by Gorilla Glue. I guess
you get sued. You'll have to put a disclaimer at the top of this video every week.
We're
not doing video anymore. You'll have to have an audio disclaimer. Yeah. We are not sponsored by Gorilla Glue.
Welcome to What If Geeks, not sponsored by Gorilla Glue.
Yeah, we had this conversation at work about it, and I was like, "Can you imagine the Gorilla Glue like Twitter guy that they came to him like, you got to get out in front of this thing now and like tweet something about," and you know he's sitting there like, "I've been running like 25% ads for like the last 5 years. I don't even know if my keyboard's plugged in."
Right.
It's just, I could just imagine him sitting there typing, "We're sorry you're a dump." No.
Yeah.
"We're sorry your parents fucked." No, that's not going to work. We're very sorry to hear about your incident. Okay, that's good. All right, well, there you go. The world is full of stupid people, and they're all on social media. And so are we. So, all right, on to what's more important. Wandavision. A very special episode. So, what we didn't write any notes on this one, so this one will be fun.
All right, so opening scene, I think, is we've been speculating about what things would show up here. I think we really thought Full House. I saw very, very, very minor references that I thought were maybe Full House-ish, which is surprising because, you know, I mean, the Olsen twins are her sisters.
Yeah, she said when filming, she felt like she did when she was a kid and would visit them on set.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in an interview. But, yeah, in that...
I wonder, like, I mean, ABC owns the rights, but isn't it currently on Netflix or something?
Yeah, so...
I wonder if maybe there's something prevented them from doing it, because it seemed like such an obvious choice. But they use 2 other ABC programs quite a bit, so...
and they could be waiting. They could be waiting for a more '90s episode to hit Full House.
Yeah, maybe.
I know it started in '87 or.
Yeah, it could be like the next episode. You might get more.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and when we get to the end, we'll probably touch on that a bit more. But
so we did get those super clear family ties.
Yeah.
Like the whole painting thing, I was like straight out of Family Ties.
Yeah, and then we also got Growing Pains.
Growing Pains a bit, yeah.
Because, well, it starts out with the opening scene is them trying to deal with the babies crying.
Right.
And they won't stop crying. They won't shut up. Vision leaves to go get the pacifiers. Wanda tries to use her magic to quiet them down, which is like, I don't know. Remember that chapter of Parenting 101. But you can see, like, you know, she probably shouldn't be trying to use magic on her kids. But it doesn't work. So she cannot shut them up. He comes out with the pacifier stuck in his head, like earplugs. They try that, and that's where you get that scene from the trailer where the pacifiers shoot up in the air at the same time, and the kids are still screaming. And then Agnes shows up out of nowhere. You know, like
in her jazzercise outfit.
Yeah, it's a very 80s.
And there's a few things she says in here. All this happens before you even get the opening montage, which is fun. She says a few things in here. Well, one, you get the where she says, you know, let me take the kids. I can help you quiet them down. And is it there that Vision looks at Wanda like, no, we've got it? Or
no.
Because he's worried for a second.
She says Auntie Agnes is here. I've got a couple tricks up my sleeve. And then he starts going off on a thing, and he's like, okay, be careful. I don't know. He says, like, be careful about their belly buttons or some bullshit like that. And so she's about to go in for it, and then he's like, remember to support their heads. When was the last time you washed their hands? You know what? Maybe we shouldn't, right? And then that gets all awkward and silent. She gives the look to him and then looks over to her, and she's like, do you want me to take that again?
Yeah.
Right. She looks at Wanda and says, you want me to take that again? Yeah, that was it. He was just nervous about her touching the kids. And which goes to what we've been saying is Agnes seems to be the only member in this entire thing who knows she's there on a show.
Yeah, she does seem very cognizant of what's going on, for sure.
Vision's starting to figure it out. Like Vision, even in the last one, would say some things like, oh, what's going on here?
He's been saying it, and she keeps rewinding him and fixing him.
Right.
Very much in this one, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, he's doing it. But, I mean, it does seem like Agnes is totally in the know. I mean, she's kind of like, you know, are we going to rewind? Do I need to go back to the door? Like, and if you remember, I think it was not last episode, but the one prior, maybe it was last episode. I don't know. When Herb's cutting the one where Herb's cutting the fucking stone. It was 2 episodes ago, right?
Last episode.
Was it last episode? Okay. In any case, Agnes is the one saying to Herb, like, don't do it. Don't say it. You know, like she's telling him, like, no, don't let it go. Don't clue him in. You know.
Right.
It's kind of weird. So it's like she's in on it. It's, in a way, like she knows what's happening, and she's trying to keep it right for
and we'll get to
Wanda.
that later because it's all part of theories. But yeah, she definitely seems like she knows what's going on. She even talks about her husband Ralph again. And remember, she says something about when she's like grabbing onto the cribs. She says something about Ralph trying to do whatever, and she'd be like, "But you can't tame this tiger," right? Which is funny because
it was the lavender spray.
The lavender spray. She's
supposed to calm them. My husband tried it on me, but she can't calm this tiger.
Right. She's a trip. But somebody else pointed out, and I thought it was really interesting, that throughout the rest of the episode, on the table is a little toy tiger. And they wondered, is that Agnes like monitoring them? Like, is it like a little camera or whatever? You know. So,
okay.
I mean, because it hasn't been there before, but whatever. Yeah. Anyway, while Vision pulls Wanda away to be like, "Hey, you know what was that?" and Wanda's like, "What are you talking about?" You know, she's like, "That whole thing with Agnes, you didn't see that?" You know, referring to her, asking her to take it from the top. Mm-hmm. And Wanda's acting like, you know, you could tell she's like trying to calm everything without using magic or whatever. She's trying to like just get Vision back on like, yep, no, everything's cool. But you can see it in her eyes, like, you know, something almost happened.
But I kind of wonder, why didn't she just use the magic? Like in all the other stuff in episode 2, right, with the beekeeper, the guy comes up covered in flies. She's like, nope, and she rewinds it. She's blipped Vision a couple times to just make him change. And then when she saw him in the last episode, when she sees corpse Vision, she like takes a minute, clearly uses the magic to open up her eyes, and now he's better. So she didn't rewind him when normally she would have.
Well, I'm thinking now because there's something else that they did here in an effect that you'd have to go back and look at again. Everywhere where there's any kind of white light, or a white colored object in the room, you can see a vague red haze around it. Like they tweaked up, they amped up the red saturation and everything so that it comes out, and so you can kind of see her magic in the background of everything.
Oh, I didn't notice
that. I think she's starting to lose control, which little things here and there between Sword trying to come in and whatever else, breaking her concentration. She can't do anything with the kids with the magic. That's probably fucking her up. So it's amping up to where it's all going to fall apart for her.
Well, and the town's I think the town's getting bigger. Right. Like there's more going on. There's because in the 50s episode, there's like 3 houses, and in the 60s episode, there's like a
whole block. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely, she's incorporating more and more into this this world of hers, but so it's probably taking a toll on her. Mm-hmm. And I think she can't. So she doesn't think to use her magic to rewind everything. You know, so there's that. But yeah, so he's questioning her, and then says, "Oh, it's all quiet." Sorry, hang on. That came out good. Heather used smoke on a cup, and it came out really cool. Oh. Yeah, nice. Awesome.
Spoon worked better than the mic.
Okay, there you go. All right. So, yeah, she while they're talking, they realize that the kids are quiet, you know, so they go back over to the crib, and the fucking babies are gone.
Yeah.
And they're like, where are the kids? And then 2 little boys come walking down the stairs. You know, mommy, daddy, and it's the twins, but now they're like 5.
Right.
And you've got so you got Billy and Tommy, and you've got Tommy in kind of like a reddish shirt, and then Billy in a green shirt, which kind of mirrors both the parents' colors in their superhero costumes, but also mirrors the costumes that they would wear in the Young Avengers, you know, as Speed and Wiccan. There's a little bit, some red in Wiccan, and there's green in Speed's costume. So, and then Agnes is sitting on the counter with a drink in her hand, and she's like, "Kids, can't control them no matter how hard you try." And then it cuts to the opening montage. And I guess we can go through the whole episode and then kind of come back and forth if we want. But there was a lot that happened in that first 2 minutes that was like you could see everything starting to unravel pretty quick, you know. But in the opening montage, like Eric said, you get family ties with the family portraits around the house. You get growing pains with them, like the going through the years.
Like the kid pictures, yeah. Little baby Vision in his crib.
Which,
yeah, what the hell was that?
Baby Vision will haunt me for the rest of my fucking life. We're gonna have to put that on the website and just be like, what? We're going back, what the fuck, Marvel? That is the scariest thing in the world. I'm sorry to whoever's kid that really is, but wow, that was scary.
And the growing up thing, they kind of insert into that. So there's a point where there's a birthday cake. And the kids are blowing out the candles, but it has like age 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they're blowing them all out at once.
Yeah, which is awesome. And the pictures of Wanda are actually pictures of Elizabeth Olsen growing up, and they've just done things to make it look like it's her in Sokovia.
Right.
Like there's a picture of her sitting on a wall, and there's like a Sokovian flag photoshopped in there, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. So they do all of that. And then there's 2 shots in this montage that refer back to Full House. And the one is the whole family running along the grassy hillside, which is right out of the Full House opening.
Yeah,
montage.
yeah.
And then it ends with them sitting down having a picnic with
in the park. Yeah.
Which is right out of Full House. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely you got those 3 shows in here: Growing Pains, Family Ties, and
the inside, the living room design is very Family Ties.
Yeah.
Like the stained glass and the look of the living and the way the living room's laid out.
Yep. Except for the couch has one blue cushion, which was something that Growing Pains had. It always had just this one blue cushion compared to the rest of the couch was like that beige, tan, gray, whatever. That grayish.
Grayish.
Yeah, grayish. It's a color. My wife painted my office in grayish. Whatever. Domesticated life. What can I tell you? But yeah, they had like the one blue couch cushion, just like Growing Pains. So then we cut back to.
There's another just a funny thing. It's just a reference to how jacked up this is, but. There's a point in the song, like right at the end, because the song lyrics are weird as fuck, right? The song lyrics for this thing. There's a point at the end where it says something like, "When the going gets tough, when push comes to shove, we're making it up."
Yeah,
because we got love or something like that.
Right, yeah. Which is exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so after the opening scene. I think you get Hayward questioning Monica Rambeau.
Yes.
He says to her, like, what do you remember about this? And she's saying, Wanda's voice was in my head. And he's asking her, like, did you try to resist or whatever? And she was like, I couldn't. It was hopeless. I had a hopeless feeling. It was sort of like drowning or whatever. I don't remember exactly how she describes it. But
yeah, and then we didn't know that she was not.
Yeah.
She was under the spell.
Yeah, and then
you could have gotten that from that last shot you had of her in there when she kind of snaps out of it a little bit and talks about her brother Pietro.
Right.
So yeah, you kind of knew she was under the spell a little bit. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah. She's getting some sort of experiments done on her, and she's asking about her outfit, which comes into play later. And they tell her it's off being analyzed or whatever.
And something very interesting on the scans too. Did you see it? They said the scans came out. We're gonna have to redo them.
They come out blank, right? There's nothing in the
You say they're blank, but if you look at it, you can clearly see on the outer edge the shape of her head and shoulder, and where her body would be is all light, which would be like photon powers.
Yeah.
Well, whatever she's gonna be, spectrum or photon or whatever. So does she already have her powers and she just doesn't know it yet?
I imagine we're going to find out in this series.
Oh, 100% guaranteed. Find out in this series.
So then we cut to the command room or whatever, and Hayward's giving a briefing to everybody about the Westview anomaly, and he starts off saying, "Oh, we thought Wanda was a victim," but then basically says she's a terrorist. And Rambo is like, what? She's not a terrorist. What the fuck?
Yeah, well, they do a really cool wordplay there too, because Jimmy Woo was trying to give the briefing, and while he's talking about her, like, Wanda Maximoff born in Sokovia to Oleg and whoever Maximoff, whether or not they're actually adoptive parents, who the hell knows? We'll probably find that out later on too. I think they are. It's running pretty close.
I got to guess what they're going to do with that, but yeah.
So, as he's talking, Hayward's like, she doesn't have any funny nickname.
Right. She doesn't have an alias, no nickname.
Yeah.
No cute little alias. And
no colorful nickname.
Yeah. Jimmy's like, no, just Wanda.
No, sir, not a wand.
And then that's when Hayward cuts him off and starts talking. And Jimmy Woo walks over next to Darcy, and he's like, yeah, I don't like to speak ill of people. And she's like, that's okay, allow me. Hayward's a dick. And right as she's getting ready to finish, he says terrorist. So it's a really cute little, but also was it not just a funny little way to cut off the word dick? Was it a way to say
it's foreshadowing for Hayward?
Yeah. He's working with an enemy, either Hydra. Or...
And there's certainly a million Hydra references already in this series, so...
Yeah. So yeah. I think he's working with somebody. So, but okay, let's continue. That was just a funny play on words. So he's talking about how she's a terrorist, Eric.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this was like a joke, but it kind of felt like it for a second, but Monica Rambeau tells him she's not a terrorist because her motivations aren't political. It's like I know that's the real definition, and it but like in this context, like really, that's going to be your argument? That's not political. Dude, she's holding, who knows, hundreds of people hostage in this town. Like,
right?
Yeah,
it seems like colloquially or whatever, it's a fine label. I mean,
yeah. Oh.
I mean, they're definitely setting up. I think I don't know shit, but I think they're setting up Monica Rambeau to have like a serious showdown with Hayward. Several times in this episode, she sort of stands up to him, and in a way that's not stupid, like, don't worry, the girls are here, but just natural, sort of like, nah, you're fucking wrong. I know her, or,
yeah,
you got the wrong idea.
And I think that had she not been blipped out, like, she would probably be the director.
Yes. Yeah. We mentioned that last episode. It seems like when he speaks to her, he asserts his authority because he knows he took what should be her job.
Right. So,
yeah. So there's definitely a showdown there, and I think we can get into speculation here in a little bit about who or what he might be. But,
so then he shows what happened, how we got Vision.
Right.
Which is
there's a security footage of her taking Vision's corpse.
Yeah, Wanda breaks into some sword facility, maybe it's the one in Jersey there, who knows, and takes his corpse away. And
it would make sense that it is the one in Jersey, because then she just wanted to Westview right there. So we'll assume that now. But, and he's in pieces.
Yeah, and then he says a really weird thing though. Like, I didn't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, but he says he resurrected her, which is in direct violation of the Sokovia Accord or something. Like, what the hell was that about?
He says she resurrected him, which is in direct violation of the Sokovia Accords and Vision's living will.
Oh, and Vision's living will? Oh, yeah, he did say that.
So, yeah, how that worked exactly, I don't know.
I want to know what the Sokovia Accords are. Why do they talk about resurrecting people with hex powers?
Well, yeah, the Sokovia Accords are from Civil War. So
it's the whole thing about Civil War.
Yeah, they were thick, and it had a lot to do with how they can use their powers and blah blah blah, and
and they had to have government authority to to use some of their powers, and it could be that because he quotes a chapter, like a certain section of the Sokovia Accords, and so that could be that. And I think I'm not sure if this is the point at which, but I think it's close to here, is where we get the fake paper towel commercial.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because she says something like, what happens when Vision learns the truth about what's going on, which is foreshadowing. And then it cuts back to the show, and there's a puppy thing. And then I think we get the paper towel commercial.
Yeah, the boys get a puppy.
Yeah, yes. Because a very special episode. So it cuts back to the show, and the kids are up against the sink talking, and then Wanda comes in and finds out they've got a puppy in the sink getting a bath, and she says, well, she says a couple of things in there, like she's like, I don't, oh, that's what she says, well, I don't know, and then Vision walks in, and he's like, he says, hello wife, hello boys, hello unknown creature, or some shit like
unknown canine or something.
Yeah. Which was funny, but they have a quick, the kids are like, can we keep them? And they're like, no, and they're like, you're not
old enough you're not ready for this.
You're not old enough for this responsibility, and you have to be 10 before you can do that. And the kids magically age themselves to 10.
And there's another realization moment here that's done like very casually, because she asks him why he's home early or something like that. And he's like, oh, I had a feeling somebody was going to pop by. And then 10 seconds later, Agnes walks in with a fucking...
No, because isn't that the thing? He was at work and he talks to Norm.
That comes after this, I think. I'm pretty sure.
No, that's why he comes home early. Isn't it?
I don't think so. No, because he has the realization here that...
Oh, right. And then he goes to work.
It's weird. Yeah, she walks in and then he's not surprised by that, but then he's like, with exactly the item we require. He's having that realization, and then she lets loose on the kids a few minutes later that she basically sent him to work because he needed to be distracted from realizing that this reality isn't reality.
Right. Yes. Okay, yeah. So he's home early. She says, oh, you're home early. He says, I had a feeling someone was going to walk in, and Agnes comes walking in with a fucking doghouse. Like, I heard someone got a new pet.
Yeah.
And he's like, with exactly what we need. Like, what the fuck is going on here? So they decide the kids can keep the puppy, and they go through a couple of names, and they land on Sparky. Sparky is the name of Vision's dog in the Vision comic book series.
Oh.
And I want to say it was like, I think it was a living dog, and it died, and he combined it with cybernetics or whatever. I'm not sure. But there was a dog because he had his whole synthezoid family, and he had this dog, Sparky. The dog, well, we'll get to that in a second. So go ahead. Go ahead. So what comes next? The commercial. Right?
Yeah. The Lagos paper towel commercial, which is the city in Civil War where all of this starts, and the reason that we need this. Well, the reason the government in Civil War decides that they need the Sokovia Accords.
Where Wanda
is trying not to have this bomb blow up, and she uses her powers, and it goes up, and something goes wrong, and it ends up in an apartment building.
Yeah,
and kills a bunch of people in the process. Which I think in the paper towel commercial, there's references to like making accidents or whatever, right?
Says, and there's when you've got a mess that you just can't clean up by yourself or something like that.
And so they do this sort of paper towel trope where the red liquid, is spilled on the table, and you see her, the hands go out, and most of it spills over, and I think it even says something about blood on your hands or something like that.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be wine in the commercial, but it's definitely like, blood on your hands or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the very end of the commercial, as it cuts out, you can hear the liquid still dripping in the belly as it cuts out, which kind of like, alludes to Wanda still feeling guilt over that. Just do that. Remember, we talked about how that's what put Tony and Cap at odds. And Cap was like, she's just a kid. And she said, this is all my fault. And he said, no, it's not. And she said, go back and check the tape. That's what they're saying, So, yeah, it's all in her head, or not in her head, but she carries the weight of all of that on top of the death of Vision, her brother, and everything else. So
there's also a Vision reference from that same thing, because he hits Rhodes, remember, in that, and there's a part in this towel commercial where the dad spills a beer, and he's like, "Oh, daddies can make mistakes too," or something. The commercial says, "Dads can make mistakes too." I'm pretty sure that's a reference to the same basic thing, where Vision hits Rhodes with the beam or whatever.
Yeah, he was aiming at Falcon, right? And Falcon gets out of the way.
Yep. So yeah,
and that ultimately ends in his death. Eventually, I mean.
All right. So then, what do we do now? We
I think there's a quick cut back to the camp or whatever, and they're talking about what might be going on, and I don't know, they're mentioning some scientific shit. But then Darcy says something about the hex. And so this is the way they're introducing the old hex powers from the comics into this, except they did it sort of randomly, because she's like, oh, well, such and such in the hex. And then Monica Rambeau's like, hex? What's a hex? And she's like, oh, that's what I'm calling
what we're calling this, yeah.
The anomaly, because it's a hexagon shape,
Yeah.
Like, it's really catching on. And the other two look at her like, whatever.
Yeah. So, and is that when she starts talking about her clothes that she was wearing?
Well, she's trying to make the connection. So she's saying, like, everything looks fake in there, but it's actually all real. Wanda is like manipulating real things and changing them.
She's saying the kids are real. She's like,
she does say
are real.
I'm not sure how she knows that, but yeah, she does say that.
Yeah, she says they're real. Vision's real.
And then there's a reference back to Avengers, because she says something about, like, if she can really do all that, then she's got to be one of the most powerful superheroes that ever existed, and way more powerful than she's ever shown. And then Monica Rambeau is like, she could have taken out Thanos.
Yeah. She could have taken out Thanos if it wasn't for a lucky shot or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, obviously they've been briefed, right?
And then Jimmy Woo's like, I'd say Captain Marvel came pretty close. It's like they're having a little fan banter. It's funny.
But now, did you see the look on Monica's face, though?
No.
When he brings up Captain Marvel, she looks mad. So I think there's a little love lost between her and Captain Marvel now. And I bet it's got to do with, after she came back, probably spoke with the Avengers or whoever was left. They all got debriefed on whatever the hell was going on, right? And she probably holds some resentment toward Captain Marvel for not being there when her mother died. Or something, Because she looks pissed when he brings up her name.
Which I think we'll find out either in Captain Marvel 2 or something, one of these.
Yeah.
They're not gonna let that plot hole hang out there.
No, it's gonna come out. But so
they eventually head downstairs, though, to see her wardrobe from the show, and she quickly analyzes it and like, oh yeah, and then she goes back and grabs Jimmy Woo's gun and shoots at it a bunch of times. Bullets bounce off, because apparently that's what happens with Kevlar. But then she says, oh well, it's all made of Kevlar, it's 95% Kevlar or whatever. So
right, so it just warped into
I don't know in what world bullets bounce off of Kevlar at 10 feet away, but well,
in the Avengers
MCU,
world,
the MCU, that's what happens apparently.
Yeah, that's their special armor that they developed. I mean, they've been dealing with aliens for a couple of decades now. I'm sure they've accelerated to the point of an entire base camp in a suitcase.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So
and they have drones at the ready from 1980, apparently. Which
that was funny. Yeah, that's how she figured out. We need to send something in that doesn't need to change, and they send in an 80s drone.
Well, so this is the realization where they might be able to do something with this. Monica says, "Well, what if we sent something in that didn't need to be changed to match the time period?" And then that's where they get the idea to send in this fucking drone. And before we get to see the drone, though, we go to Vision's workplace, and they've got new computers there with email or whatever. Of course,
like super old email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it's very monochrome monitor, text based. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
But obviously,
and they talk to Vision again. Like it's like you can talk to these things.
Yeah.
And did they play the modem boot up noise?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
There's some super cheesy jokes about letter openers for email and
really cheesy jokes. Yeah, like we got mail. Let me get for it. A letter opener. No, you don't need that, Norm. Click.
So he goes on to his friend's computer to show him how to log into the email, and there's an email there, but it's from someone. Yeah, it seems like it's from Darcy, right? It says like it's from Sword at the top, and then it says Dr. Darcy Lewis findings regarding Maximoff anomaly, and then it says some stuff about high levels of radiation, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter, but it gives him another one of those realization moments.
But he starts reading it, and then Norm starts reading it with him, and then the entire office starts reciting.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Screens in front of them, like robots.
Mm-hmm.
And Vision looks around like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah, and then he does something weird that I don't really understand. He sort of like phases his fingers into the computer and then into Norm guy's head, and then all of a sudden he's back to normal for a moment.
Well, Norm has the freak out realization of what's going on, right? He's like,
well, that's because Vision touches them.
Vision touches the sides of his head like this.
Which goes back to what we said about when Jimmy Woo was putting the pictures up. It says that he's worried about his family, and we find out when Vision wakes him up, whatever. Which I said I thought was going to happen in a later episode, which could just be like, they shot the scenes out of sequence and it was typed on there by, just an editing error. But it was on his New Jersey ID file that Jimmy Woo had on the board that Vision wakes him up. So you see it here. He touches his head. He wakes up. He starts panicking, saying, like, where's my family? I got to check on my parents. They're sick. And then Vision's like, Norm, what's going on? He's like, who's Norm? And he tells him what his real name is. I forget. And he's like, what are you doing? And all Norm or character Norm, real person, will say is, she's doing this to us. It hurts. Doesn't say who. He says she's doing this. It hurts. So.
But he says she, and who else?
He says she.
Yeah.
Well, it could be Agnes. We can get into the theories in a bit. So Norm's having a panic attack.
Yep.
So Vision, after Norm tells Vision, she's in my head, she's in all our heads, whatever, and it hurts. It's like he says it too, like it's like drowning, it's like despair or whatever, and it's just pain. Vision puts him back, touches his head again, puts him back in. Like, well, okay, have fun with all that drowning and despair.
Yeah.
You getting all this plight, kids?
And then he goes he's right back to character Norm, like, hey, buddy.
Yeah, he's like, hey, how about that mail, huh?
Yeah.
So then we cut to the house, and Wanda's there talking to the kids. Oh, the kids are playing with the dog, and Tommy is Wiccan, right? Tommy is trying to teach Sparky a trick. And he's like, sit. And if you watch him, he takes the treat and puts it to his temple. He doesn't hold it out to the dog. He puts it to his temple and says, sit. And the dog sits, which would kind of go with the telepathic powers he'll get as Wiccan from his mother.
It's the other way around.
Oh, wait, what?
Tommy is speed and Billy is Wiccan. But it doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of the boys is which anyway.
Yeah. Well, the one that's supposed to be Wiccan is doing the trick. And he holds the treat up to his head, which would kind of like, give you that whole he's telepathic or whatever. But teaches the dog a trick, whatever. They sit down and talk to mom, and they're like, where's dad? And she's like, oh, he's at work. And they're like, it's Saturday. And she's like, no, it's not. And they're like, yeah, you said this morning it was Saturday. And she's like, no, well, he just had to go there because he needed a distraction. Sometimes mommies and daddies aren't on the same page, blah, 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 whatever. And she does this whole, and it gets the melancholy special episode music as she's talking to them about, and no matter what, we still love you and yada, yada, yada. And then they hear a noise. So she's like, stay right here. And she walks out front, and these kids listen about as well as mine, and they follow her outside. And there's the drone hovering over the front yard. And I'd have to go back and look at it again, but my first take on it was it looked an awful lot like the 90s era Blackbird from the X-Men.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Right? It looks just like their Blackbird jet from like the cartoon and the comics and shit. So she looks up and she's like, what do you want? And Monica starts talking to her. Like, hey, Wanda, it's Geraldine, it's Captain Monica Rambeau, Geraldine. She's trying to tell her she's her friend. She's like, I want to help you, whatever, yada, yada. She's like, you don't belong here. They go back and forth. And then Haywood just takes over command of the whole thing and says, take the shot. And Monica's like, what? And then you hear something and the screen goes blank. And then you go, it cuts to the tent of them where they're sitting. And she's like, Monica's like, what did you do? And he's like, we did what we had to do. We had no choice. And then alarms start going off. And it pans out to the outside of the hexagon, and this fucking thing is like starting to glow red. And you can see a silhouette on the inside walking toward you. And I was like, oh, here we go. Right? So they all go out there with their guns drawn and everything. And Wanda comes walking out, and she's in her costume, and she comes walking out.
The Civil War costume.
Yeah, the Civil War costume. As she's walking out, she's dragging the drone behind her, and it's like sparking. And you can see like her red energy around it, or in places, And she comes walking out toward them, and she's like, "Is this yours?" and throws it at his feet. And her Sokovian accent is.
I was gonna say her accent's back and thicker.
Yeah, very thick. Like she is way back to like Age of Ultron Wanda. Right. Like she's straight pissed. It's almost like when I'm either drunk or pissed off or tired, my New York accent comes out. She's like straight.
or when my wife talks to her family in Alabama, like the accent becomes thick.
Yeah, exactly. So her accent is straight 100% back, and she's telling them, you're gonna leave us alone. This is my home, and you're not gonna touch it. Mm-hmm. He's got all his guys have their green laser sights on her. And she's just looking at them all, and that's when Monica tries to talk to her and tell her, look, she goes, oh, you're still here? That's what Wanda says. Wanda looks at her and goes, you're still here? Like expected her to run or something. And Monica says, I'm here because, I want to help you. I'm your friend. And Wanda's like, really? But basically tells them, you stay the hell out, and I'll leave you alone. And then as she goes to turn around and walk away, she flicks her hand, and all the soldiers turn their guns on Haywood. And there was two key things I took away from that, because all those, and it was like perfectly choreographed, because they like, boom, at one time, all on him. And he's like, stand out. But notice, somewhere in her head, she does see Monica as a friend or an ally, because she trains every gun on Haywood and nothing on her. Yeah. And the second thing was, this was straight up a Magneto move. If you remember from the Fox movies, he did it twice. He did it once when he picked up all the guns and turned them on the cops in the original X-Men movie, and then he did it again with the guns. I think in Dark Phoenix, he did it against the alien bitch. But yeah, same thing. Exactly how he did it. She did it, but with mind control instead of magnetic powers. Right. And she walks back in. So, all right, who wants to take over? Because now we get to the very special part of the very special episode.
So when they go back, there's another mailman, different one I think than the previous episode, but no matter. The kids are looking for the dog. The dog is missing. You know, so they're running around the neighborhood with this Sparky, Sparky, where are you? Where are you? And then what's her name? Agnes comes out
from behind the bushes.
Yeah, she found him. The dog, well, presumably the dog is wrapped in like a towel or whatever, and she's like, I found him behind the azalea bushes. He must have eaten them or something.
No, it's not. Yeah, but it's not azalea. She says it's something else. It's some kind of plant. And she's like, I don't know how many he got into before I found him.
Yeah,
and he's dead.
He's dead in any case. I don't know what the hell. Well,
the key there is in the comics, in the Vision comics, Sparky the dog eats a certain flower like nightshade or whatever the hell it was, right? That's the same plant that she says in here, and he eats it something happens to him and he dies. But in his stomach they find that, and he was found in Agatha Harkness's garden. So, like, they're beating you over the head with it if you've ever read any of these comics. You know, you're like, oh, Jesus, yeah. So I'm 100% on board with this is Agatha Harkness.
So the kids realize what's going on, and they say something, and she quickly turns around and is like, don't stop. Don't age yourself up.
Yes, and don't hide your pain or something.
Yeah. She's like, I know this is hard or whatever. Like, don't run away from it. Whatever it is she says, which is of course a reference to what she's doing right now.
Yeah.
But she's telling him like, I know.
She was the same age as them when her parents died, which is why she said, don't age yourself up. Don't go past age 10, whatever. Like, deal with it.
Yeah. And then we get an interesting thing here that may or may not be relevant later, but the kids say to her, you can fix anything, Mom. You know, fix the dead dog.
Yeah, bring him back.
Bring him back. Yeah.
You can bring him back from the dead. And Agnes looks at her and says, you can do that?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
no. What?
She even says, like, what? No, I can't do that.
Right. Which I think is obviously, a reference to what you do with Vision. Right. So,
And this is the first time that the boys have never figured out what is going on here, but this is the first where they're like, you can do stuff, Mom, like, figure this out, do it.
Yeah. And it's like they know what's going on. Right, which, and to be fair, for this to be the first time that they're dealing with it, they've also been alive for about 45 minutes. Right. They've been 10 for 20 minutes, and they were like 5 for 15 minutes. So,
life experience, tons of life experience.
Yeah. Which also made me laugh too when they aged up to 10. When we talked about how they would be eventually be the Young Avengers, I'm like, oh, they're getting them there pretty quick. like they're almost ready to be the Young Avengers, which is cool because we mentioned some of the other characters that are already running around the MCU. So yeah. So she tells them, no, I can't do that. You have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, she says there's basically two things we can't do. One of them has happened. I don't know if she did it or not, but she's like, you can't age up and you can't bring back the dead. That's what she tells them. But then obviously the boys have aged up. So can you bring back the dead?
Right. Which I think what she's trying to say is like, you can't do that anymore. Don't do it again.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah, and then.
Well, and she didn't she hasn't brought Vision back to life. She's like animating corpse Vision, right? She sees it in red, and she's making people see the illusion.
Maybe because again,
what happens at the end is all going to become relevant to this conversation. But
yeah, because one, Monica says Vision's real and the kids are real, right? And we know that anything that leaves the hex stays real. Like Monica's clothes stayed as the 70s clothes. When the beekeeper went through and they pulled the rope back, it was part jump rope, which is where I think is how they're going to explain how Vision stays alive after this. I don't know
But
I
when
don't
she
know if
saw
it's
him,
right, and there's an illusion over his corpse body, and she's animating it, or I think that when you see Corpse Vision in the other episode, and she looks down real quick, I think that's just her guilt getting to her. Like she's already fixed him with her hex powers, and he's walking around again, but she couldn't. The reason he can't remember anything, again, we're getting into the speculation part that comes later. But I think the reason he can't remember anything is because she did bring him back to life, but she's got no way of bringing back his memory, which they could probably do in Wakanda with Shuri.
Yeah.
They'll probably, like later on, they'll probably bring.
Yeah, they'll probably, right. But I don't know that you can, but I think when she saw Corpse Vision, she's seeing him how he really is. She's convincing everyone through her hex powers that what they see is real Vision. And she saw it for a second. She was like, okay, get it together, fix it. Okay.
Maybe, but I think it's more that she repaired him.
Yeah.
But couldn't reboot him. Like she factory reset him. She fixed him, repaired the hole in his head and everything, and basically factory reset him. But
I kind of thought that view she saw of him as dead was just a reminder, not like what he really is.
Yeah.
And I only say that because he seems to be one of the couple characters here that actually has like free will and she doesn't have control over. You know, he's like, he challenges her, he recognizes things. We get to a point
more in this episode.
Yeah, we get to a point in a couple minutes into this episode from where we are in this episode where he's gonna be like pissed, you know? He's like, no, I'm done with this.
Yeah, so I guess we get right into that, right?
Yeah, so that's the next thing, right?
The dog's dead and they can't do anything about it. And they go home. It cuts to the house and she's in the kitchen putting his stuff in the box, and Vision walks in, washes his hands in the sink, and says, I spoke to Norm at work. And she says, oh, really? And he says, what's the Maximoff anomaly? And she's like, what are you talking about? And he turns to her. He's like, what's going on here? You know, basically telling her, I know something's wrong. I spoke to the person, the real Norm. I spoke to the person underneath. What are you doing? And she's like, look, the boys had a traumatic experience, but yada, yada, whatever. We don't need to deal with this. We just need to go to bed. And he says, I'm not going to go to bed. And she rolls the credits on him. Right. And the theme song starts kicking in, and the credits starts rolling.
And they keep arguing.
It's the way they do this show has gotten better and better for me. Like just the inside nods to this is all fake. The credits are rolling, and as the credits are rolling, which by the way are all people that work in the MCU.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're all people that work in the MCU. Like even the names of the people when they put them on the board are people that work on the show and in the MCU. So they reference a little nod to hey, thanks for working for us. Your name is in the show now. But yeah, all the credits are going by, and he's yelling at her, like tell me what's going on. And that's when he says, I don't remember.
Why can't I remember anything? Yeah.
Yeah. Why can't I remember anything besides this? I don't remember anything before this. And she's like, why is that important? This is our home. And he screams at her, I'm scared. Which is odd for Vision because he's a synthezoid. I guess it's odd if it's not odd. He never showed much emotion, but you also knew that in the movies he loved Wanda or whatever. So he did have emotions in the movie. He had that robotic side to him. So you never really saw like fear or this or that or whatever. So yeah, for him to scream at her, and that's where you get, like Eric said, where he challenges her in this, and he's got his own free will. So I do think she fixed him somehow, just not fully.
Yeah, and Jimmy Woo made a comment much earlier in the episode about how did he fix her without the Mind Stone? And Darcy's just like, I don't know. I wonder if there's something to that because it seems arbitrary to mention that.
Yeah, because they're destroyed in this universe, or
presumably.
Well, yeah. Well, they were Thanos said he destroyed them, and then the other ones were brought back. But whatever. I mean, who knows? Maybe she went and found it. But I think it's got to do with, like we said before, the 3 snaps that happened let loose a bunch of radiation, and I think she just, because her powers kicked on because of a stone, she was able to absorb some of that energy. Because kind of Captain Marvel kind of does the same thing, absorbs some energy because she's part stone too. So I think it's very similar in that regard. So, yeah, so they argue into the living room, and so the 2 of them.
Yeah, and this is actually important because we talked about this a few episodes ago. She doesn't actually fly in the MCU. She sort of has super jumpy, can slow herself down and speed herself up sort of powers. She never actually flies. Right here, no problem. She's up, she's holding it, and it just may be a sort of giving you subtle hints as to how much her power has changed from, where we've seen her before, but.
Yeah, because he does it first. He levitates off the ground to challenge her, and yelling at her like, "You're gonna tell me what I want to know." And she does. She just like puts her hands out and just rises up to meet him. Like, "All right, bring it on, bitch."
Yeah, but as soon as he really, really breaks in on it, and she's like, "You don't want to." He asks something like, "What's outside of Westview?" And she's like, "You don't want to know the answer to that." Yeah. And then he's like, "You don't get to make that choice for me." And then she sort of calms at that point. And she's like, okay. And she goes back down. She's like, you're my husband. I love you. This is all for us. That kind of whatever. And she says, you're Tommy and Billy's father. Isn't this what you want? Or isn't that enough? Yeah.
Isn't that enough? Yeah.
Yeah. Shouldn't
this be enough or can't this be enough? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he sort of floats back down. It like calms him. He's like, okay, all right.
And they sit on the couch. And they're still talking about what's going on. And that's when she says, like, this is all done for you. And she says, I don't know how this started.
Yeah.
Because he says, what is going on here? And she's like, I don't know. I don't even know how all this got started. Which also goes back to me. I thought there's a combination of her starting this, but also being manipulated at the same time. Where her powers grew for whatever reason. And again, we're going to find out in the next 3 episodes what the fuck's going on. But as they're talking, he says, you always try to change the subject when I talk to you about it. With going back to rewinding things, rolling the credits on me, Like he says all of that, like he saw all of it, Like he knew what was going on. And as they're talking, the doorbell rings.
Right.
And he looks at the door and looks at her, and she's like, I didn't do that.
Yeah. And
he looks at her, and she's like, you don't believe me? Which at that point, I was like, why would he?
Right.
Yeah.
But she's like, you need to believe me. I didn't do that. And then the doorbell rings again, and she's like, I didn't do that. And she gets up, walks over to the door, opens the door, and you see the camera goes to her. Like it's from the outside. Looking at
so
her.
you see the back of the person's head.
You see the back of the person's head, and they're looking at her, and her face drops, and then it cuts back, and you can clearly see like the person's got gray hair, right? But it cuts back, and it's Evan Peters, who was Quicksilver in the Fox universe, and he looks just like Quicksilver, but in a black leather jacket, right? And he's got like a straight up Jersey accent. He's like, "Hey," because she goes Pietro. And he says, hey, can't a big brother get a hug from his little sister or whatever, Can't a long-lost big brother hug his little sister to death?
Yeah.
And she hugs him, and then it cuts.
It cuts to Darcy.
And she goes, what did she say? She goes, holy cow or holy something. And
she recast Pietro. That's what
Pietro?
Yeah, she recast Pietro.
She recast Pietro. And then it cuts to black, right? Well, there's a couple of things on here that you're going to have to go back and rewatch. And I guess, Eric, if you got the episode up, go to the Pietro scene.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shot when it's him and he's talking to her. It goes like back behind his shoulder again as it's looking at her. You can see her in the mirror behind her. And where he should be in that mirror is either he's blurred a little bit or it's either him and somebody else that's holding him, but it's a red hand. There's a red hand in there.
Okay,
Well,
I'm on it. I'm on it. I see it. It's really hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. It's really, really hard to tell. But again, it's just like them to do something like that, to put it way in the background where you can't barely see it. But it looks like either there's a red hand holding him, like bringing him there, or that it's him. Maybe he's an illusion. I don't think he's an illusion. I think it's definitely him. But yeah, so they basically recast Pietro, and it's Evan Peters from Fox Universe, which is what we said. We said we knew he was in the credits in the IMDb page. He was in the cast. We said if you're gonna bring him in, you're not gonna bring him in for anything other than Quicksilver. Right. So here comes the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you see what you're talking about.
Yeah, like you can kind of. I can't.
Here, let me get the. Oops. Don't pay attention to that. That's works.
Great. Now we all need to update our preferences.
What? A work policy is porn? Okay, this is what he's talking about. You see in the mirror? Yeah. There's looks like a red hand here or something.
Yeah, it could just be him, but it could also be him because of the red saturation. If you go back to some of the other stuff in the episode, you'll see that red saturation. So that could just be an effect from that. But it definitely looks like that's his hand.
Well, there's also this. You'll have to wait for my cover over to go. But look right here between her head and his arm. Give it a second. There you go.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like another arm.
Yeah, it's like somebody's holding him there or something.
Right. Really weird. But
it is weird. It's very hard to tell what the hell's going on there. And this is only for like 4 frames. Like there's nothing useful. There's one more frame there. Yeah. Another one, and then it's gone.
Yep. It's very wild. But so he goes to hug her and everything, and it cuts to black. Yeah. I'm gonna have to cut out that quiet part. Sorry. But so he's back now, right? So now, I guess we go into speculation. Out of everything that happened in the episode,
who's the popsicle?
Who's the popsicle?
Yes, that was the other thing. He points at him and says, "Who's the popsicle?" Which is funny because popsicle is a reference for a dead guy, or a corpse. So yeah.
That's why I still think that he's dead.
Well, yeah, and I'm not.
It's his reanimated corpse.
Not, but I just think that with the way he's acting, like Eric said, with his free will and everything, I think there's a little bit to that. But I guess we'll see. So all right, so yeah, speculation. So Paul thinks that Vision is literally a Weekend at Bernie's corpse wandering around under Wanda's power.
Yeah. Maybe, but before we even get to the speculation, I mean, this is a cool way. I mean, we already talked about before that we thought Evan Peters was going to show up in here and he played Quicksilver. This is a cool way to integrate the Fox universe with this one. Like,
yes,
her brother's dead in the MCU, we know.
Just on Darcy's line alone.
Yeah.
Recast Pietro. Marvel single-handedly just erased. They knocked over the whole game board. They were like, okay, because remember they've also been saying, no, we got 5 years of plans left, and I kept saying, no, he's going to sneak shit in.
Yeah.
This is how they're going to do it.
Yep.
Through Wanda's magic and the multiverse is coming up and everything else, you're going to have all the X-Men characters popping in.
Yep.
Yeah,
but it also allows for anyone from the Fox movies that they talk to and they say, yeah, we want to come back, like maybe a James McAvoy or even Ian McKellen as an older Magneto, whatever, or whoever, right? James Marsden as Cyclops, anybody they want to bring in, they can. And anybody they want to or need to recast, like, say, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine,
you can just get into it.
They just cover it.
Yeah. So
and the fans being what the fans are, this is their way of making it okay with the fans because they explained it away in universe. Like, no, they're just recast. And because again, if Wolverine just shows up in like the first X-Men movie in 2 years and it's not Hugh Jackman, there would be that grumbling, whatever, because everyone was like, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. But doing it this way,
Yeah.
you make maybe 90 to 95% of those people that were going to complain okay with it.
Yeah, so I think this makes it really, really simple for them to tie all of it together by just saying everything you watched in the Foxverse was a different part of the multiverse. It was Earth 617 or whatever the fuck it is. And Wanda having had this moment and fucked everything up, this hex could exist across multiple universes or multiple pieces of the multiverse. And as people are going into it from different places, they're entering, the current MCU Earth.
Right.
And so he came from the Foxverse. All the people from X-Men, or not all of them, but all of them they want to, could come from that same Foxverse through the same trajectory, right? We could have Magneto show up. We could have Professor Xavier show up. And it could be everything that happened in that old Foxverse timeline. And we always said, well, where the fuck are all these people through all the MCU shit? Well, now they came from a different multiverse, right? It was on a different side of it. And they could do the same thing. I mean, they could tie in so much this way. It's not even funny how much they could just be like, oh, yeah, come on, let's just throw it all in here.
Dude, the minute this happened, that's exactly where my mind went, was how easily they can explain everything with just that one line. I got so excited, I wanted to text the two of you and say, stop everything you're doing, watch this fucking episode, and let's do our review right now.
You did tell us to watch the episode immediately. Oh, I did. But we ignored you.
Yeah, you did. I was so ready to fucking just start talking about it. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an easy way to tie in, Foxverse, Sonyverse, whatever the fuck you want into.
Yeah, it's a good way to get the Fantastic Four stuff in there. They can be their own, right? Fantastic Four verse.
That was the other thing I was going to say. When they were in the camp, Monica says something about
an astrophysicist.
I know an astrophysicist that can help us out, and she texts him. Is that Reed Richards? Is it Hank McCoy?
It even lets them recast those people where they need to, right? Because they could pull in the Fantastic Four from Earth 999 or what. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, they can come from anywhere.
Obviously looking like Prince.
Yeah.
It could be a multiverse because the Fantastic Four started in the 60s. I mean, that's where it could be. Like, it could be a multiverse, and in that universe, the Fantastic Four are Earth's sort of only heroes, and it's a 1960s universe.
Yeah. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. This show is incredible. Every time I think, and we've called a good amount of this shit, but even still, I managed to be they managed to surprise me. Even in the spots where we're like, okay, they're going to do this to introduce mutants or whatever. The way they cut it and edit it and do whatever shocks me sometimes. This was perfect. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I got really excited over this one. So, yeah. So, there's a few things in here. I still think, like I said, I'm 100% Agnes is Agatha Harkness. That's her. She knows she's in a show. She's doing it to manipulate Wanda for some reason. Whether it's good or bad or indifferent, it's got to be bad. She's got to be one of the adversaries that's going to come into that giant CGI fight later on. I also think that Pietro is going to be Pietro. I think that's him. No matter what we said, like when I pointed out the red hand or whatever, whether or not that was just a saturation thing, you'll have to go back and look at the episode again, Paul, and see all the white areas.
Yeah, I need to watch that again.
Yeah, it was a cool effect, and it's almost like they did it in this episode because she's breaking down, which explains a lot of the stuff that's going on with everything kind of like coming out. I really think you're going to see Mephisto. I'm almost positive Ralph is Mephisto. All right, so we were talking speculation. I said, Eric, that I thought Mephisto is definitely in this now. I'm convinced he's there. I'm convinced she's Agatha Harkness. what are your speculations going forward for the last 3 episodes?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, John. I mean, the introduction would make sense for lots of different reasons, but Mephisto definitely makes sense here, and maybe it's an alternate universe sort of thing. She's sort of manipulated time and space and dimensions and whatever else, and that's how he ended up here. And because she keeps saying through this episode and maybe even the previous one, that she's not doing all this. It's not all her. She's not controlling everything. Like there's something else afoot. And to be honest, if they made her this ridiculously powerful now, all on her own, like where do you go with her? Like no one can beat her.
Well, they had the same problem in the comics too with the house thing, where you had Avengers Disassembled, where she had a breakdown about the kids being gone, and she killed a bunch of the Avengers, and then the heroes got together and decided the only way to stop her was to kill her, and that's when she creates the House of M universe. Wolverine kind of essentially, Vision takes over the Wolverine role in this show, where he knows something's going on and gathers a bunch of heroes together to get their real memories back and fix it. And she says the No More Mutants line, and they go back to the world being what it was, except for the fact that there's like 198 mutants or so, whatever. But so yeah, there's definitely something else going on here. But she's definitely always been powerful in the comics to this scale and more. Like she warped an entire universe, never mind a town. Like she warped the entire world in the comics. So I mean, I could see them. This is just a smaller scale, but it fits here. You know what I mean? Like it fits the MCU for what they're doing, but it's basically the same thing. She's ultra powerful, and I think that's probably going to be where, like we said before, you're going to get into the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, where she's an adversary, but not really. Whatever, maybe she's out of control, and he's trying to help her. Maybe she's only an adversary for like 15 fucking minutes, and then it's him trying to teach her how to control herself while battling Mephisto and Nightmare and whoever else, Grim Reaper, all of them.
Well, and she could be the conduit of how they get to this universe, right? Like those forces of evil have now been unleashed, and whether she has to break free of Agnes or Agatha or somebody else. It becomes she has to relearn some stuff and fight people that she
herself. And I think you tug on that thread, it makes sense where if they're wanting to come into this universe to make it hell on earth or whatever they're going to do, right? They're using Agatha Harkness to get to her, to have her do whatever the hell, just like the comics where she made her kids, and that was a whole plot with Mephisto too in the comics. So it's very comic centric still, just tweaked to their MCU verse. Yeah. But it makes sense that they would be manipulating her a little bit, but also having her do a lot of it, using that magic up to make herself more and more powerful, to open that doorway or whatever they got to do, So yeah, I think I can't wait. I mean, I don't want the show to end, but I can't wait to see where the hell they're going, because we know from Paul Bettany that the last 2 episodes are like a CGI fest that is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I think my probably totally wrong speculation we got 3 episodes left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the other Pietro, Aaron Taylor Johnson, shows up maybe in the next episode or something. And this is where we get the multiple world sort of intro. And then you can have Ian McKellen Magneto or Michael Fassbender Magneto. I don't give a shit which one, maybe both, showing up at some point, probably maybe in a closing scene or something on the 8th episode. But
well, yeah, you touched on something too. Also, I want to just touch back to this Pietro, your last Full House nod. He's definitely got an Uncle Jesse vibe.
Oh, yeah.
He looks
right
like
about
Jesse.
that.
Yeah, he looks just like Uncle Jesse with great, like his silver hair.
Yep.
And his mannerisms, But He might as well have dropped a Have Mercy.
So there's so many things you could do with this though, like going forward. And this isn't a guess. I'd love to see Magneto. I think if you have the brother and sister back, you have to have Magneto now, right? Like you have to bring that in. And then just because of the whole House of M storyline and everything that happens, one of the Professor X's has to show up. I don't know if it's James McAvoy or Patrick Stewart, but I feel like one of them has to show up too. And then you really tie in the whole X-Men world, even if it's a different casting than what you might expect.
Yeah, and I think while I would love to see Patrick Stewart do it, well, holy shit, that was a tongue twister. I would love Patrick Stewart back.
That's the grossest thing I've ever heard. Like,
Engage. Oh shit! So while I'd like to see that, he is getting older, and I think his swan song in Logan was a good put to rest for that character. But the version that James McAvoy, he could do that for you've got a few years with him as that character if you want, and Disney's got the money to get him. Now there is on that note of bigger characters coming in. Apparently, and I didn't see it, but I heard someone talking about it in an interview. Elizabeth Olsen said after the Mandalorian ended, talking about WandaVision, she said, "We have a very Luke Skywalker moment," and I don't think Pietro was it. While it could be because you bring back a major character in her life or whatever, I think you're going to get a cameo at the end of 8 by like Magneto or so. And like you said, I don't care.
It's got to be something big. I mean,
for her to say that, it's got to be something bigger than what just happened.
The end cameo, you got a few ways you could go with it. So you could do Magneto, which again, I'm going to say that's the way they should go because tying in the Foxverse is the thing to do now. You've already started it, but they could introduce the Fantastic Four. Okay. They could make this a precursor to Captain Marvel 2, and they could have Captain Marvel show up, and she has obvious tie-ins with Monica Rambeau, and that would all make sense too, right? You could. It wouldn't be as exciting, I don't think, but you could do that too.
Yeah, you could. I don't think they're going to introduce the Fantastic Four here. They may introduce like Reed Richards before Power,
or just name drop him, right? All you'd have to do is name drop him.
Yeah.
Well, that would be the clever thing to do. Would be you bring in Magneto, you name drop the Fantastic Four. You might have Captain Marvel show up just because there's a Captain Marvel movie coming up, and they can use this to tie Monica Rambeau of WandaVision into the Captain Marvel movie.
Well, my money is definitely on Magneto, and I think and 100% speculation. But here's if I was going to do it. Yeah, now I'm OJ. I didn't do it, but if I did, this is how I would have done it.
If the glove fit.
Yeah. I didn't make this show, but if I did, this is how I would have done it. So in this CGI fest that Paul Bettany talked about, maybe they learn that Mephisto is trying to get into this Earth. Wanda realizes she's been manipulated. Whether or not the kids get taken out of the picture, that'll be something to deal with. But she and Vision and Quicksilver go to fight Mephisto, Grim Reaper, Nightmare, Agatha Harkness, all of them, whatever, getting their asses kicked, about to get killed, and then you get, stay away from my children, and it's fucking Magneto.
Yeah.
And now you get a surprise Luke Skywalker-esque cameo by Ian McKellen or Fassbender, right? And you also get the, oh shit, they're actually Magneto's kids. So you get a twofer in that one. So we'll see. But I mean, that's how I would do it. It's like, and it could be the last 10 minutes of that 22-minute episode, and he comes in, wrecks shop, and takes the two kids and leaves.
Yeah.
Leaves Vision wondering what the fuck's going on, maybe. And then maybe that's how you get her involved with the whole Doctor Strange thing, where Vision's trying to figure out where, because I don't even know if Paul Bettany is in the casting for Doctor Strange, but it would make sense.
I don't know either, but that's also another obvious. To have
'Cause
Cumberbatch show up at some point.
Yeah.
Towards the end here to tie in the Multiverse of Madness movie, right?
So yeah, or we could be completely wrong, and it's like Jamie Foxx as Electro.
Yeah, all 3 Spider-Men show up.
Yeah. So there you go. Hi guys. Oh shit. And they end it with the Sony Spider-Verse line. All right, one more time from the top. So yeah, I don't know. I think they're gonna drop Magneto in this thing at the very end, which I think would be epic. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. All right, we got anything else for this episode? Should we talk about the Falcon Winter Soldier trailer that dropped during the Super Bowl, or you want to save that for later?
Sure, we can talk about it. Looks super exciting.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Honestly, it looks like one of the most action-packed things they've done so far.
How many episodes are there going to be?
I think there's going to be 8. Is that right?
8. Yeah, but now that one I bet is going to be an ongoing series though, because I don't know if I know they said WandaVision is like a one-shot season. That's it. But I don't know if they've said any of the other Marvel shows are going to be continuous. I know What If is going to be 23, and then whatever comes after that. But the first 23 are going to be about the 23 movies.
6. It's 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Official announcement.
I don't know
from
that you're going to
Disney,
get.
unfortunately.
I don't know that you can lock in Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan for a multi-season show. But maybe you can. Disney.
I have a feeling both of them are already locked in, and this is probably coming to the end of what they've got.
Yeah.
How many movies? I mean, they already did multiple, right? You know, I don't. They usually sign with these guys. They usually sign options for like 3, 4 for big actors, maybe up to 6 movies. But then it's got an end, and they got to renegotiate. So I feel like I don't know about Sebastian Stan, but I mean Anthony Mackie's been three movies.
Well, yeah, they've both been in multiples between what Winter Soldier, Civil War, and
I would really have to go back and count, but
4.
4.
4.
I wonder if we couldn't go back and look if a lot of times they announce how many movies they sign up for. So I'm looking at it now though. So he did Avengers: Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America: Civil War, and Avengers: Infinity War, and Endgame.
Endgame.
So that's 5. Maybe this could be the 6th. Maybe this could be something new. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but the series looks really cool. And there's definitely a whole thing about the legacy of Captain America. Mm-hmm. And who's going to get the shield. And I know they do a lot of clever edits, but they do that one shot where Falcon chucks the shield at a tree, and then it cuts to Bucky catching it.
Yeah.
But I think that's 2 separate shots, like two separate times in the series. But
probably.
Sebastian Stan is also 5 for the record.
Okay.
First Avenger, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame.
So then you get to see the other Captain America, U.S. agent again, running like same thing, running through the field. It's the same shot. But basically, just talk about who's going to be Captain America and what's to do with his legacy and all this other shit. And you hear Baron Zemo say, basically, you're not going to take away my legacy. You're not going to
all superheroes have to die or something like that.
Yeah, and you see him holding his hood, and then he puts it on at some point. So he's actually like comics accurate Baron Zemo now, which is cool. Good.
Yeah, sorry, I had to go look up the info. So Sebastian Stan actually signed a deal for 9.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
9. So he's only done 5 of 9. Anthony Mackie's original deal was 10.
Wow. Okay.
So these guys are locked in. Now,
yeah, they're in it for the long haul.
Either the series counts for a couple of those, or they signed a separate deal for the series. But again, we go back to Disney is chucking money at you, and you're playing a fucking superhero.
Right. Why wouldn't you just
get it? I get it. Your love of acting, but they've got time to do other things too.
Well, it's not just that. It gets to a point where there's like regret, right? So you signed a whatever it was, $10 million 10 movie deal, and then you realize these movies are making, and now there's one based on you. We'll talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier, but and Disney's making $50 million off an episode, and you're still getting paid $1 million to do the whole series, right? That's where where it comes in with the oh shit, they don't like to sign so long, but
yeah, I get it. But I think there is some. Most of them are having fun doing this shit. Hell, I read, and I know it's heavily rumored, but I read even Chris Evans signed to come back. He's coming back as Captain America, whether or not it's the one from this Earth or it's, you know what I mean? But he's supposed to be coming back. So I don't know in what capacity, if it's going to be a cameo in the Multiverse of Madness because they're going through different multiverses or what. But he's supposed to be coming back. He signed a new deal with Disney, which is cool because Chris Evans is Captain America. He is America's ass. So, but this trailer is, like you said, it's just so action packed as opposed to everything else we've been getting with WandaVision right now. It looks awesome. Like the fight on the two trucks, when the two of them they're fighting the terrorist group. And it looks like, I think they're supposed to be like the Flag Smashers or whatever, but there's the one girl that's over there beating the shit out of everybody. And Bucky's hanging off the side of the truck, and Falcon flies next to him, and he's like, that girl kicked your ass.
Yeah.
And Bucky yells at him, and you see Falcon fly in, and it's so quick, you can barely catch it. You got to go frame by frame. But it's because there's a vehicle coming at him. As he flies under, he scoops Bucky out of the way of the vehicle coming in, and they both go under the second truck. So yeah, there's a lot in this thing, and I know there's been rumors about this show, but it's coming in a few weeks. I know we're supposed to get Omega Red, which is again we go back to the mutants. I think after the Pietro thing, we're gonna get a lot of. My wife is shining a laser light on me. You see it?
Yeah, we need to wrap up.
Yeah, we're getting a bunch of mutants coming in the subsequent series and movies. I think they're just going to start trickling them in, much like they did with the Avengers, where they go like, you had Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and then bang, Avengers. I think that's what you're going to get here. So yeah, all right. I'm looking forward to that one too. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in the next 3 episodes of WandaVision.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, well, that'll be it. You guys, let us know what you think of the episode. If you're fully on board, as we have been for the last 2 episodes, like, subscribe, ring a bell, comment down below, tell us everything, all your thoughts. How much you enjoyed WandaVision's laser light, like I'm enjoying the laser light being shined on me now. And it would be a lot better for a video, but whatever. Hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or an 80s email, and let us know you're from Swords. All right, that's it. Good night, Tony.
Good night, new Pietro.
Good night, Sparky, forever.
Oh, not the dog.